Adam Schiff. He's a Democrat from California, the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. Thanks very much for joining us.
Great to be with you.
Let's talk about your House colleague, Mike Pompeo, first to be the next CIA director. As the ranking Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, you have to deal with the CIA all the time. Is he qualified?
He's very well qualified. He's a solid pick, a very smart guy, hardworking. He can be partisan. We certainly had our differences over Benghazi, but I'm confident he'll put that aside. The CIA role is a role of supplying the best intelligence to the administration and the Congress. And I know he'll play a very good role and do a very good job.
So you don't think among Democrats he's going to be all that controversial? He'll slide through the confirmation in the Senate?
I would think so. There'll certainly be apprehension about the very vocal role in Benghazi. He was among just a couple members to file a dissenting report to even the majority report, not feeling the majority report was strong enough. But he's a very talented guy. I think he will do his homework. He'll do the very best to manage the agency well. I have a lot of confidence in his abilities.
Yeah, I've spoken with other Democrats who agree he's well-liked, conservative, but intelligence, #1 in his class at West Point, went on to become the editor of the Harvard Law Review, so he's obviously pretty intelligent. So I suspect he's not going to have any trouble.
He's very intelligent. I spoke with him today to congratulate him, and I'm very confident he'll do a very good job. And they couldn't pick a more capable person for the position.
Now, you have different view when it comes to retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn to be the President's National Security Advisor, President-elect Donald Trump's National Security Advisor. He does not need Senate confirmation. What's your biggest concern?
Well, it's really twofold. One is that on a lot of policy matters, his views really scare me, frankly. He has difficult time differentiating between the entire faith of Islam and those who would pervert it, like Al-Qaeda and ISIS. A lot of his statements very inflammatory that play into this narrative that ISIS has, that it's the West against Islam. So very concerned about that. Also profound question about his temperament. This is someone I think at DIA had a reputation for being very hot-headed, not a consensus builder, and in the NSA position you need to bring together disparate voices within the national security infrastructure to come together on tough policy. Those aren't really his skills. I think he was widely thought of, praised in his role with General McChrystal in gathering battlefield intelligence.
In Afghanistan.
But in running an agency, in tamping down the impulsive nature of the president-elect, to have another volatile character in the Oval Office scares me.
But when it comes to his views on what they call radical Islam, he seems to be pretty much in line with the president-elect. They don't seem to diverge in that area.
Well, and that worries me, that he will have an echo chamber in his national security advisor on Islamic radicalism, but also on Russia. Because he has very much over the last year come to cling to the same view that the president-elect has, that Putin is somehow a friend. He is willing to overlook the invasion of Putin's neighbors, the cyber hacking. Similarly to the president-elect, when Mike Flynn was asked during the campaign about the hacking, he also kind of shrugged it off, wasn't willing to echo exactly what our intelligence agencies knew, that this was the Russians who were meddling. So unfortunately, in Mike Flynn, I think the president is going to get someone who is going to tell him what he wants to hear on very critical issues, not what he needs to hear.
Very quickly on the next Attorney General of the United States, Senator Sessions, your thoughts?
I haven't had a working relationship with him. They're going to have to do a thorough job, obviously, in the confirmation process. It concerns me that he voted against Loretta Lynch because of her views on the immigration issue. He's been opposed to a comprehensive reform on immigration. He's also opposed to criminal justice reform, something I feel very passionately for. But the president does get to choose his policies, and so he needs to be thoroughly
vote to confirm Eric Holder as the Attorney General of the United States under President Obama.
Yeah, they will have to do a thorough investigation into all these issues. But, the American people understand, I think, and we are seeing that elections have consequences. And, some of the consequences we're seeing of choices like Steve Bannon and Mike Flynn ought to concern Americans that thought maybe he would moderate his views in the White House in his selections or surround himself with thoughtful, sound people. We're getting some nominees who don't fit that category.
Well, there are still plenty of vacant other jobs that are open there. Director of National Intelligence, who oversees the CIA and 15 or 16 other intelligence agencies, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State. There's still some opportunities to diversify that national security portfolio.
There are. I hope he takes the opportunity to bring in some, if not dissenting views, at least views that will be independent of what he's expressed on the campaign trail, people who are respected in the various agencies. There is a great talent pool out there of, people who have served in Republican administrations, conservative people, but mainstream people. And it scares me when I see him pick people outside the mainstream.
Who would you prefer, Rudy Giuliani as Secretary of State or Mitt Romney as Secretary of State?
I would be thrilled to have Mitt Romney as Secretary of State. And it shows you just how much the world has changed when you hear a Democrat saying he'd be thrilled to have Mitt Romney as Secretary of State. But he would be very well within the mainstream. He doesn't have tremendous experience in that arena, but neither does Mr. Giuliani. And I think there'd be a lot more confidence in him as Secretary of State.
And Secretary of Defense, have you thought about that?
I don't know who the president-elect is thinking.
There's one thought of Kelly Ayotte, who's the senator from New Hampshire who just lost in her bid for re-election. There's one thought of bringing her in. I don't know if you know her.
I don't know her. I think that she would certainly be a mainstream choice for that position. And given some of the other names that are being mentioned, mainstream good.
Adam Schiff, the Congressman.